Billy Strings is the type of player who can really change the way you view guitar. Let's take a look at how he does this. But first, let's head back to his roots.
I ain't slept in 7 days, I ain't eaten 3. This methamphetamine has got a damn good hold of me. My tweaker friends have got me to the point of no return. I just take my lighter to the bulb and watch it burn.
Billy's a virtuosic player who does so much playing acoustic, electric, and he's a great singer-songwriter, and he's sitting with bands all the time, and so many bands want to play with him not only because of his skills, but because he's so humble and confident at the same time with such a cool vibe. He's a master of traditional bluegrass, so let's first take a look at some simple basics of the style. Here's what people often sound like attempting to play bluegrass. If you're not familiar with playing bluegrass, here are some things you want to know about playing chords in this style. The first step towards getting the more traditional sound is to realize that often there are no thirds played in the chords. It gives a tighter sound that cuts through the other instruments more and allows the guitar to sound more percussive. And a common strum pattern is a boom chuck like this. It doesn't always have to be exactly that precise, but something close to it. Another way to cut through the other instruments more is to get a thinner sound, and we can get that by picking a little closer to the bridge. And often to get other keys, you can just throw in a capo like this and play the same old, chord shapes. Playing leads, let's listen to an example of Billy taking a solo. Now, Billy did something there really powerful, but before we get to it, let's look at some of the traditional bluegrass lead ideas he was doing. He often uses open strings a lot like this. In the first song we heard, he was doing something super common in a major key, which is playing a G run, and it's very often used to resolve a solo. And there's a lot of variations, but here's one where you can add the minor third. It gives you a little bit more of a bluesier edge. And Billy gets fluid all over the fretboard. Now, Billy often does something that most guitar players could really do a lot more of, as it helps shape solos and gives them more direction, and that's repetition. And that's what he did over and over in that example. So he did that a few times, and then the fourth time was a little bit different. And then he meandered on for a little bit and came back to the same phrase with a slight twist. Now, Billy is often compared to Jerry Garcia, so here's an example of him sitting in with Bob Weir's band, playing a Grateful Dead song on electric, and listen to how he listens so well. Billy is often compared to Jimi Hendrix, so let's check out another example of him playing electric, sitting in with Humphreys McGee. And even though he's often playing so fast, he's not afraid to really hang on a note. To highlight what I believe to be the most important thing any guitarist can learn from Billy Strings, let's listen to a later part of his solo from the song we heard earlier. I think the biggest takeaway from Billy Strings is that we don't want to worry about following all the rules of music. While he's in the world of traditional bluegrass, which has some fans who tend to have a very narrow view of what that style means, he's not afraid to break out of it and blend in other styles. And he doesn't worry about the backlash from the critical purists who think bluegrass has to stay a certain way. Now, Billy's become so innovative because he learns not only from great bluegrass guitarists, but also from non-bluegrass players as well. And in this video here, you can find out what any guitarist can learn from Trey Anastasio. Billy Strings has so much respect for him and recently sat in with the Trey Anastasio band, so you don't want to miss out what you can learn from him as well.